Hey, it's been a while. I haven't played Lost Ark for a long time now, much less made content for it. The daily grind, smurfing, terrible balance changes, and a rank system that never seemed to get any attention just wore me out. I can only go so long having the voices of competitive players going unheard, forever treated like we're second-class citizens. So I quit. Instead, I went soul-searching. Co-op games, single-player games. I even tried gacha, of all things. It took me a while, but I found Soul alright. A game that's chock full of it.
Oh, I'm not for this.
Big stuff.
Let's go! Yeah!
Oh my god.
Project Loki is a really cool game. According to the website, it's a blend of genres that players have described as League meets Apex meets Smash. And I'd agree with the statement. Melee math levels of grab included. What the game is really is a MOBA Battle Royale. You queue up solo or with your friends, then drop on a map with varied biomes, nodes, and murderous trains. You kill creeps to get stronger and then slaughter other teams until you and your squad are the last ones standing. It focuses on 4-man teams, and the combat is very explosive. There's even gliders and some insane levels of mobility and map traversal, allowing for eye-watering plays. Now, this sounds like I'm reading off a marketing blurb, but no, that actually was my experience. But it most definitely isn't the first MOBA Battle Royale, and the track record for high-quality Battle Royales of engaging mechanics hasn't been particularly good. Announcements for Battle Royale type games aren't usually seen in a good light. Yet instead of eliciting skepticism as just another drop in the Battle Royale bucket, Project Loki's reception has been surprisingly warm. Chances are this isn't the first you've heard about it either, even though information is scarce as it's under NDA. And is it any wonder that it's making waves? You'd have heard it's being built by ex-Riot devs, but that does a disservice to the absolute variety of top talent working in the studio. They got ex-Riot employees, League and Valorant, sure, but they also got people from Bungie, Blizzard, Insomniac Games. Heck, they got people that worked on Guild Wars, The Elder Scrolls, Bioshock, even Forza Motorsports. And it's not just games. Riot also made Arcane, you know? And have you heard of the Dragon Prince? Klaus?
Who's the loser now, you little brat?
They've got pedigree, and this makes a lot of people, myself included, confident that the game is in good hands.
Coming through. Oh, that's a good nuke! That's a good nuke!
Evidently, I'm pretty hyped up, wouldn't be here otherwise, but that's in large part because I actually got to try it out during some of the recent playtests. I don't think it's good out of speculation, I think it's great out of experience. Again, the game is still under NDA, so there's only so much I can say, but Theorycraft themselves have a lot to show on the quote-unquote creativity and freedom built into combat. The movement just feels good. Many games can feel clunky and rigid. You're very much aware you're working within the confines of the system. That's not a bad thing, and some of the best games I've played recently fit that description. But I tend to prefer games that give you freedom of movement and show player expression through it. Project Loki is as close as I've gotten to that in an isometric game, using an attack into a jump, into a glider, into a grind rail, and throughout all of this the momentum carries over from each and every action. Something as simple as being able to jump up means there's a lot of verticality to the map, and this shows in combat too as you get to drop on your enemies or you fight from the high ground. Then there's the pace of the fights. They're fast and intense with interesting item combinations, team comp synergies, and what seems to be a sky-high skill ceiling. There's so much creativity with your item and skill usage, but also just the environment. If you glide, you get a boost of mobility and it lets you cross over the abyss, but one touch and you're dead. There's hazards ranging from terrain that slows you to trains or moving platforms that one-shot you. And even though we're meant to be in the early stages where you might expect visuals and sound design to take a backseat, this really hasn't been the case. As part of my aforementioned soul searching, I decided to try and be in touch with my creative self. What I wasn't expecting was that I'd be swooning over art direction in a game that's still in pre-alpha. The environment and character aesthetic is full of personality, the color palettes are vibrant without being overly saturated. Even a lot of the current animations have so much weight behind them. Instead of going to GDC talks or character artist streams, I found myself listening to design panels that the Theorycraft team upload on their Discord. What really makes me hyped though is that while the game is good, it isn't done. Far from it. When the experience I had at first was so favorable and my opinion of the game is so high, the flaws are just all the more apparent. Doubly so when you know some of these problems had already been solved by others in the genre. Look, I'm not here to be a sycophant. I'd be lying if I didn't say the game can be pretty jank at times, has a rough new player experience and needs large amounts of work to be done and clarity of visual communication. Now if I'm being honest, things like that are expected of a game in such an early stage, but not all of my gripes are about polish, quality of life, and accessibility. There's parts of the core gameplay loop, the balance direction, and the impression I get for the overarching trajectory of the game that has me question if it'll really turn out to be the watershed release I believe it has the potential to become. And that's not because I disagree with Theorycraft's vision, mind you, rather it's because I've had such a good time with the game that I care so much about these issues. I'm no stranger to games I loved that came around with impressive concepts, that exceeded so many metrics, felt amazing to play and had talented teams to carry them forwards that ended up just fizzling out into obscurity, and even shut down. Just because I like a game doesn't mean that I don't have concerns from a longevity or commercial standpoint.
Because we are a genre mashup, that makes it infinitely harder than if we were to make a game within a genre. And I think that has been a long, arduous journey that I don't think any of us anticipated would be as hard as it is.
And by virtue or vice of being a mashup game, it needs special attention. Especially when dipping into the Battle Royale genre. In The Death of a Game for Battle Right, Nerdslayer sums it up well.
But a few key decisions missed here and there, and a flawed game design from the ground up could very well be the reason this type of game just keeps failing to catch flight. I just think that the genre is still quite new and requires the right kind of design to stand the test of time.
And I agree. Yet it is precisely the uncertainty that comes with identifying what exactly the right kind of design even means that makes me so excited during this pre-alpha period. When I look back, many of the problems these games had could be attributed to lack of updates, game modes, and fresh content, or just overall catering to specific crowds and losing sight of a core audience. With Project Loki though, things change at the drop of a hat. What you like can vanish in an instant, and other changes come that make the fun you get from the game just so much better. Quote unquote, everything is subject to change, and this is something to take seriously. Improvements and iterations from patch to patch are large, fast, and just damn exciting to see. Originally, Project Loki was very down to earth and flat in character mobility.
Loki was once much slower and less free than it is now. In fact, we were much closer to a traditional MOBA style of movement, which felt more rules-based and two-dimensional. So dashes and knockbacks went very specific distances, there was no jumping, and you very rarely combined movement abilities in dynamic ways.
The momentum-based movement I was gushing about earlier, that was one of those radical changes that now give the game its identity. Now there's a lot of verticality with high ground areas, ledge grabbing, gliding, and all of this is critical to how your character interfaces with both the in-game world and your fellow players. Yet none of that existed a little over a year back. Even character concepts, really. You see, I'm the kind of person that cares less about playstyle and more about looks. It doesn't matter what a character does so long as I look good doing it. At this stage of the game, I wouldn't be expecting much, but the team has come out with the redesigns that made me go from, yeah, I'd be down to try this character, to this is my new main, and it is effective immediately. It's a Wild West situation where nothing is certain and everything is unapologetically new, pushing boundaries and being experimental with every update. It's a stage of game dev where you can just throw whatever at a wall and see what sticks. And it's the playtesters that get in early whose voices will ring the loudest. It does all come down to hearing just how loud the voices do sound that gives me confidence. Members of the Theorycraft team are constantly on the general and creator discords, interacting and commenting on bugs and feedback given by playtesters. They drop in on group calls to get player opinions and frequently join in on matches themselves. A clip of a match will get posted on the Discord and they'll ping the players that show up in excitement. Their glee is contagious. There's open discussion at every turn. Even with a growing player base of testers with strongly differing opinions, it still feels like everyone's words count. The fireside chats they host address players' main feedback points, and they have an informal way of communicating the greater vision held for the game. We've seen decisions being made only to be reversed within a patch when its response is polarizing, and that's fine. It is this constant freedom of exploration with different mechanics that make it seem like the developers are open to just try something new at every turn. A sort of confidence that it's okay for these radical changes to be made because eventually they'll land on something really good and tailor the game to the right kind of design that can make it a success. I won't pretend I have any idea of how game dev really works at this scale. No amount of GDC talks is going to tell me that. And even my first impressions, critiques, or constructive feedback I have for the game are undoubtedly doused by the short amount of time I've had to play. But at the very least, the Theorycraft team had made it feel like you don't need to be a game developer to be an active participant in the creation of a game.
We playtest because it helps us learn and make decisions faster than any other way we've developed before. Honestly, I hope we'll keep this mindset even past launch, where we can take big swings to make the game better and can hear your feedback in real time. We may not get it right the first time, but in this way, I'm pretty sure we can dial it in faster. So if you want to have an impact, come play and give us feedback.
It's not just about them being fluid with game changes, but about them listening and responding to player feedback. I feel like our voices are heard and that we matter. I stopped Lost Ark because of a feeling of neglect from a developer that seemed to not care for us in the competitive space.
Do you see what fucking happens when you actually put effort into PvP in this game? Do you see the fucking viewership?
Now, I find myself inspired and personally invested in the success of a game I've played for less than 24 hours all in all. Right now, I really like Project Loki. but I'd be a fool to make a surefire statement that it will be the next big game in the genre. It might, and I sincerely believe that it's trending towards that, but it might not. I can't even say if, when the game does eventually get released, I will enjoy the state it ends up in. A lot of things can change, and they won't necessarily go the way I want, but I feel like I have a say. I want to see this game succeed, and as it stands, it shows a lot of promise. At the very least, I sure as hell want to tag along for the ride, and hopefully starting today, you will too. And the way you tag along is with Playtest Access, so let's talk about these signups. If you want a key, then you can go right to theorycraftgames.com/ref=Lino. That's Lino, with an actual O for once, not a zero. I just can't seem to escape this curse, can I? Alternatively, you can just click the link I've pasted in the description below and it'll take you to that page. The link may say priority queue, but for the first 5,000 signups, it will guarantee access when the next batch of keys are released. Keys tend to be sent out shortly before a playtest happens, so that's when you get them. Unfortunately, I'm a little bit late getting this video up for the EU playtest, but they might send out keys while it's running, so keep an eye out. Otherwise, you should be receiving them when the next batch is sent, likely within a month. To reiterate, keys are only guaranteed for the first 5,000. The priority queue though, that has no expiry. This video has been a bit of a departure from my usual guides and stream VOD, so do let me know if this approach works fine. For the time being, I'll be keeping up with Project Loki, so you can expect more videos on the topic from me, especially when the NDA is lifted. So subscribe, follow, yada yada, you know the deal. For now though, that's all from me. Thank you all for watching, and hopefully, I'll see you in the next playtest.